So, welcome everybody. Good morning, very good morning to Mr. Das, and good afternoon to others. Welcome to Kizuna India Japan Study Forum. Most of the viewers, they know that the Kizuna India Japan Study Forum was launched in September 2022 by the Mombusho Scholars Association of India. The objectives are to explore and document the lesser known or under-researched aspects of India-Japan historical and cultural interactions and disseminate the findings through lectures, seminars, conferences, and publications. The forum has held one international conference in February 2023, and the papers presented in the conference are now published under the title Geographies of Exchange between India and Japan. Our next conference is scheduled to be held in March 2026, and the theme is India and Japan, Lived Seasons and Intercultural Human Encounters in the 19th and early 20th century. Simultaneously, the Kizuna Forum has also been holding lectures on monthly basis. Today's talk is by Mr. Subrata Kumar Das, a writer, curator, TV anchor, and organizer based in Toronto, Canada. He will be speaking on Japan in the eyes of Bengali scholar, Professor Benoy Kumar Sarkar. And this lecture is 20th in the Kizuna lecture series. So welcome Mr. Subrata Kumar Das to Kizuna India-Japan Study Forum. And let me introduce him to the audience. He was born in Bangladesh in 1964 and immigrated to Canada in 2013. His publications include 30 authored books and many articles. He has also edited 3 books in Bengali, focusing on Japan-Bengal interactions spanning more than a century. Mr. Das is a member of Writers Union of Canada and the Literary Translators Association of Canada. He is also the initiator of Bangladeshi Novels, the first website on Bengali literature started in 2003. Welcome, Mr. Das, to Kizuna Forum. And now let me welcome and introduce the chair, Professor Fakrul Alam. He taught at the University of Dhaka, Bangladesh, until his retirement in June 2017. Currently, he is the advisor, Department of English, East West University, Dhaka. He has authored, edited, co-edited, and translated several books on a wide range of subjects. Some notable works are Jibanananda Das, Selected Poems, and South Asian Writers in English, then Imperial Entanglements and Literature in English, and Reading Literature in English from Bangladesh, Post-Colonial and Post-Colonial Perspectives. He received the Sark Literature Award in 2012 and 2023, and the Bangla Academy Prize for Literature in 2013. Welcome, Professor Fakrul Alam. And now I request you to conduct the session and chair the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Sushila, Narsimhan. And I'd like to thank you and Professor Ashok Jain and the Kizuna, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, India-Japan Study Forum, which has been in existence since September 22, and where a conference was held in 2018 called India-Japan Unearthing Lesser-Known Historical and Cultural Links. And I can see today's talk as a continuing in that tradition, because the focus of today's presentation is very much in that vein. And I'm very happy to introduce my ex-student from Dhaka University, Subrata Kumar Das. and I know how busy he has been in Toronto. We have been in intermittent touch. As was said before, he's a writer, curator, TV anchor, and organizer, and he's going to talk about a subject about which I'm uh, quite interested. I mean, I've visited Japan twice, and I was involved in a number of projects which relate to exchanges between Bangladesh and Japan. Another ex-student, Tanvir Mukammal, a filmmaker, has done a film about someone. Subrata talks in his paper. A lady from Bangladesh who married a Japanese man, and way back when, and stayed there and then wrote about it. And Tanvir made a film, and I think someone else also made a film about it. And I was somewhat involved, and I've been involved in other projects. My friend Subrata, I know, has worked on in that vein. She's in the audience. She's also been active in that sense. So it's just a privilege for me. Thank you so much for asking me to be chairing a session where Subrata is a speaker, and where the subject is Indo-Japanese relationship. And if I can be more particular, the connections between Bengal and Japan, which Kobi Guru Rabindranath initiated. But as we know, as we find out from Subrata's paper, the links were there even before Rabindranath. Rabindranath just went there and activated it. And even Rabindranath was activated because of someone who had come from Japan. And, Rabindranath Tagore had connections, painting connections. So I'm looking forward eagerly and don't want to talk anymore, but Subrata, it's yours.
Thank you very much, sir. It is really a great pleasure for me to get you as the chair of this session. And I like to thank Professor Sushila Narsimhan, the coordinator of Kizuna India-Japan Study Forum, for inviting me to the talk, Japan in the Eyes of the Bengali scholar, Professor Benoy Kumar Sarkar. And now let me share the PowerPoint presentation for our audience. Before going to Professor Benoy Kumar Sarkar's views regarding Japan, let us have a look at his writing and teaching careers that will help us. We can see that Professor Sarkar actually was born in 1887, and we have learned that at the age of 19, he did his master's. And since then, meaning from the age of 19 to the year 1914, when he started his travel across the world. During these 7-8 years, we have found that he had written a huge number of books. And his books actually focused on these sort of things, these sort of genres: the pedagogy, politics, economics, sociology, literature, journalism, international relations, and I should say what not. And for that very reason, probably Professor Sarkar was called in Bengali term, Shobjanta Benoy Kumar Sarkar. And next, and we see that he had been a very prolific writer and activist. The next slide. And we have learned that Mr. Manoj, the next slide. And Mr. Manoj, the next slide.
Manoj sir?
Yes. And we know that mostly he wrote books in Bengali and English, and he did have a very good proficiency in Sanskrit and Hindi. But the most interesting thing is that during his tour across the world, he learned the languages like French, German, and Italian, and he also wrote books in those languages. And after his very short span of life, we found that he altogether authored almost 24,000 printed pages, 24,000. And as an activist, we found that he was a very active nationalist, a very active teacher, very active writer, and a good patriot as well. The next slide. And we found during the years 1906 and 1914, we found that he had authored a huge number of books. These are the major books that Professor Sarkar wrote, and I have just given the names of those books and the years those are published, just for our viewers to have an idea how profusely Professor Sarkar had written and worked during his career. And he started his travel in the year 1914. And next slide. And we found that from 1914 to 1925, he traveled countries like Egypt, England, Scotland, Ireland, the USA, Korea, Japan, Manchuria, China, Austria, Switzerland, Italy, etc., etc. And we found that during his tour in the USA, he had published a huge number of articles in the dailies and other periodicals published from the different cities of the USA. And I have given one newspaper clipping here. This was published in the New York Times in 1917, and it was a full page interview of Professor Sarkar. When it was published, he was at the age of 30 only, and I just have inserted here to make our viewers understand that how much height he achieved during that time, that he was interviewed and the full page coverage he got from there. Later on, we found that he had been publishing books from many countries, and the books that were published from many different countries included these ones. This is simply a list for our viewers to have a look how many books he had been writing and from how many countries he had been publishing those. And if I focus on the countries from where the books were published, we will see that those were Japan, Germany, the United Kingdom, the United States, China, and India. This was not a very easy task, I believe, for anyone living in India or in Bengal, but got published from all those countries simultaneously. And if we look at the articles that and the periodicals where he published his essays, his views, his interviews, we'll find that he actually wanted to share the richness of Indian heritage. He all the time wanted to make the global people audience aware about the past of India, and he wanted to highlight highlight India as a nation, and he wanted to contribute to the world of knowledge, and he also wanted to enrich himself. These are the things that I actually uh, coined from those articles. What actually made the Bengali writer to write so many articles, so many essays in many international newspapers. And alongside those, what he did, he wrote many books, almost 13 volumes of books on his travels. And those books had been published from Bengal in Bengali. And if we look at those books, we'll find that he tried to inform his people about the outer world. He all the time wanted to share his knowledge he was getting from the outer world with his Bengali readers, Bengali audience. He all the time tried to educate his countrymen about the international situation, and he all the time tried to place a comparative study between India and other countries. Next. And thus came the time when uh, Professor Sarkar wrote a book on Japan. But the question is, what actually made him to visit Japan 2 times, and what actually made him interested to write a book, a huge, voluminous book on Japan? And if we look much back, we will find that it was the year 1853 when Japan was opened for the outer world. And in the year 1858, a book was published in England, which was written by Matthew Perry. Uh, 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 the name of the book was A Narrative of the Expedition of an American Squadron to the Chinese Seas and Japan. And very interestingly, the book was translated into Bengali in 1863. That was a very voluminous book that was about Japan, but that was published from Kolkata in 1863. And later on, we found that in 1905, we have got one complete book length manuscript on Japan, which actually made people very much interested regarding this country. And we found that the book, which was published in 1905, the name was Nobbo Japan এবং রুশ জাপান যুদ্ধের ইতিহাস. In English, it will be rendered as New Japan and the history of the Russo-Japanese War, and it was written by Umakanto Hajari. And that was a very significant book, I must say. And during that time, we found that a huge number of articles were published in many of the periodicals by a huge number of Bengalis uh, who are living in Japan or not. And when during my studies on India, Japan, India, Bengal relations, during the years 2007, 8, 9, 10, I got more than 100 Bengali articles. And at the end, in 2012, I actually published an anthology of 18 articles selected from those more than 100. And the cover of the left side is the one published from Dhaka, and the cover of the right side, it was published from Kolkata this year. Atmaja Publishers of Kolkata, they have published this book, Shekaler Bangla Samoyik Potre Japan, meaning Japan in the periodicals of the bygone days, Bengali periodicals of the bygone days. It was published this year. And I believe that uh, uh, after that, I believe after that, Japan became one of the very attractive places, made people interested. And it happened so that in 1910, we found that there had been at least three books. Yes. The first one will be 1910. It was mistakenly printed there 1920. It should be 1910. And the book Japan Prabhas, it was published in 1910 from Kolkata. And the person, the writer, he was from now Bangladesh, Jessore, and he went to Japan in 1906. And I'm telling all this that because the people, the Bengali people, they had been interested in Japan issues very, very much. There had been so many articles published, so many books published, and in the same year, 1910, we got more books. One by Suresh Chandra Banerjee, which was uh, 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 titled as Japan. The other one was Rush Japan Juddher Itihas, which was written by Nalini Bala Vanjo Chowdhury, and also by 1915 more two books by Manmatanath Ghosh. And afterwards, in the same year 1915, we found that there have been many more books, and the major book was by Hariprabha Takeda, which our chair, Professor Alam, referred in his introductory talk. And there is Professor Shomdatta Mandal, and he has was translated the book into English, and that has been a very good, what should I say, effort for the study of Japan. And we'll find that Benoy Sarkar's book was published in 1923, though he went to Japan in 1915, but it took a long 7 8 years for him to publish it. And in between that, in the year 1916, Tagore went to Japan, and Tagore's book was published in 1919, which was called Japan Jatri. And then the book came, Japan, the creator of the new Asia. And the cover here is the recent edition of the book, which has been published from Kolkata in 2025. And here, next slide, please. Here, yes, here I have used the title as the creator of New Asia. It is because it seemed to me that this will be more befitting. We found in one of Benoy Sarkar books that he tried to use the title as the parent of New Asia. I have found it. And the other writer, researcher, Sugata Bosch, he has used the termed the title as the birth giver of New Asia. But it seemed to me that it is better to say the creator of New Asia. So I have used this phrase for all my slides. And we found that in this book, what Professor Sarkar has done, he has exhibited the uh, encyclopedic knowledge on Japanese politics and warfare, economics and finance, history and culture, literature and arts, geography and demography. He had done all these things. He had researched all these things. He has gone through all these aspects of Japan and placed those for the Bengali readers. And what he has also done, he has analyzed the connection of Japan with China, with India, with Korea, with Europe, and with North America as well. We have found that Sarkar has also illustrated all his findings with personal experience. That is one of the very major features of his writing, and thus identified the comparisons between the idolatry of the Hindus and the Buddhists with that of the Japanese, manners and behaviors of the Japanese and those of the Europeans, and conventions and traditions of the Indians and those of the Japanese that we have found. And we found that in his book, we found that he met many of the noted personalities, including the foremost writers, the then writers of Japan, the major journalists, scholars, the statesmen, and the Indologists. And thus, Professor Sarkar actually had developed a very good knowledge regarding Japan and focused on those in his book. And we have also seen that he has given an account of the major dailies and periodicals of the then Japan, the major universities and educational institutions, and he has focused also on the beliefs and conventions of the Japanese. And he also gave us the idea which Indians had visited Japan before him, which Bengalis had got connected with Japan, which Japanese had traveled India before him. All these informations are very much interesting, and for that reason I thought that this book was very much important for the people who are interested in Japan India relations, Japan Bengal relations. And also we found that he gave the ideas on which Japanese had traveled out of Japan after the opening of the door in 1853, and also which Europeans had visited Japan after that opening. And he has also focused in his book the, the development of the industry, the advancement of science, the accomplishment of education sector, the establishment of a humanitarian society. He believed that these are the major component that has actually made Japan so much developed, so much advanced, and about the assurance of a good governance. And all these things actually he believed made Japan one of the leading countries of Asia. Now the question is why Japan is creator of New Asia. Benoy Kumar Sarkar has stated this in the introduction of his book. I will try to uh, read from the introduction. That will help us. I have translated the whole book into English, and from the introduction, it is my translation. I'm just trying to read some of the lines for our audience. Mr. Sarkar wrote, in 1915-16, I had praised Japan as the creator of New Asia. This is very important. The book was published in 1923, but Professor Sarkar went to Japan in 1915. Later on, he went to China and returned to Japan again. For the first time, he lived in Japan for 3 months, and after returning from China, he lived in Japan for 4 months again, though he has written in his book that he was the book was written based on his experience of the first time, and he In the first time, he thought that Japan was the creator of New Asia, but after 10 years, about 10 years, the same idea, same thought, same belief he had actually uh, had been doing. And he has written, even then, Japan was indeed the only independent country in Asia. I have considered this many times. Today, in 1923, I observed that the situation in Asia has improved considerably. Afterwards, he has said it is essential for India to try to understand Japan from various perspectives. Every state in India should aim to research whether it can become a Japan of its own. It should be a primary goal for educated Indians to strive to manage what the Japanese have accomplished in industry, science, education, society, and governance equivalently. Until then, it is unacceptable for them to measure themselves against the higher standards of the significant countries of Europe and America. He also wrote, Japan has shown Asia the way forward. Here lies the point why Japan was the creator of New Asia. Before Asia can contend with the West, it cannot get accustomed to following Japan's path. Thus, Japan is not only a creator and motivator of New Asia, but also a teacher and guide for young India, young China, young Afghanistan, young Persia, and young Egypt. This actually I quoted from the introduction of Professor Sarkar of the book that we are discussing on. And the point is why actually all these things happened, why so many people got interested in Japan, why Japan became one of the very ideal state for the Indians, for the Bengalis. I have got a focus of it, a clue of it in the very first book, first Bengali book written on Japan, which I mentioned before was written by Umakanta Hazari and which was published in 1905. Let me quote some lines from there. Mr. Hazari wrote, we love Japan more than life itself. We consider the people of Japan as very close relatives. Those who say that Japan will one day defeat England and grant independence to all of India, that Bombay will someday become Boston through Japan's grace, are either deluded or insane. That is a very good point. And from that years, during the very first decade of the 20th century, the Bengalis, the Indians, they were actually thinking that Japan will come forth, come forward to free India from the shackles of the British. And at one time, Mr. Umakanta Hazari wrote, our love and sympathy for Japan stem from various reasons. As an Asian nation, Japan is our religious brother, and the people of Japan are followers of Lord Buddha, hence our spiritual kinship. Our most important pilgrimage site, Gaya, is highly revered by the Japanese. There is a tradition in Japan in studying Sanskrit, and currently many Japanese youths are coming to India to learn the Sanskrit language. These are the reasons that he found could be uh, could be for which the Indians, the Bengalis got so much interested in Japan. And next slide. And uh, for for writing this book, Professor Sarkar had had consulted a huge number of English books. He has mentioned there that he didn't know Japanese, but he had studied hugely, and some of the books that he has mentioned there uh, are, are given here, just a list of books for our audience. And uh, for the interested ones, I want to say that the next slide, these are the books alongside Professor Sarkar's book on Japan, which actually help us to understand Professor Sarkar and his political views, his social views, his views on international relations. These are the books we found that uh, during his lifetime, one book was published, The Social and Economic Ideas of Benoy Sarkar. It was published in 1940. The next book was published in 53, and another book we got, which was published by the University of Bardhaman, though I found that no year of publication there. And there, very recently, a Bengali book has also been published from Calcutta on Benoy Kumar Sarkar. I don't know the year of the publication, though in that book, two of my articles have also been included. And that is all actually what I wanted to share with my viewers, with my audience, and with the forum. Thank you very much all for giving me the chance.
Excellent. The chairman, please.
Yes, I was just wondering if I think we have plenty of time for questions. So if you would like to ask him some questions virtually, or just if you want to ask a question directly, just let's have 10, 15 minutes of that question and answers. I can see that we have, uh, participants from all over, and I'm sure some of them will be interested in following up on what Subrata has done in his presentation. So please, if you have any questions or comments, let us know. Share it with us.
Oh, they are raising their hands. And
Yeah, we have
Professor,
4.
yeah,
So
yeah.
start with Lobamudra. We'll go from right to left.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Are you asking me to start?
No, I think he asked Lopam Mudra.
Yeah.
Good evening to everyone. Thanks for
Yes, yes.
giving me the chance to ask a question. Sir, very enlightening. I have learned a lot from your presentation. I just have one simple question to ask. That what made Benoy Kumar Sarkar interested about Japan? What was the spark?
The thing is that actually he was one of the pioneer ones. He was a very good political thinker as well. And uh, uh, like many other Bengalis, many other Indians, Professor Sarkar was also in the same thought that if, as Japan has had advanced in the very first decade, or before that, in the last decades of the 19th century, advanced so much. So Professor Sarkar thought that Japan could be the country to follow, and to keep pace with them, and to get advanced in the international race like that. It seemed to me. Thank you very
I'd
much
like
for
to
the
add a
question.
bit to that. I think that
Okay.
there's something of the Bengal Renaissance here. Something of the outlook at that point to forge civilizational links and to visit new places with which India once had ties. And we can see this in Rabindranath, of course, but we can see it in others.
Yeah.
At the moment, I'm actually reviewing a book about Bengalis in Africa and the way they come in East Africa, the way this appears in literature. So this is not isolated in any ways. Japan is also part of the outlook that Rabindranath writes about, not only about Japan, but Indonesia and others. And he shared it with a lot of Bengalis at the time. Sorry to take so much time, but I find that very fascinating.
Thank you very much, sir,
Professor
for
Ashok Jain,
adding.
did you have a question?
I think the work of Benoy Kumar Sarkar is is in a sense beginning of what we are trying to do now. He had dug out so many facets of relationship with Japan that it has become a really good source. Now, I wonder whether your compilation in English, the English translation, is it easily available, widely available in India, and maybe Vishwabharati? Do you have a copy of it? Because I find it is very, very rich collection. That's number one. Number two, I think, has anybody examined the relationship, the compared his ideas on, let's say, education with the prevailing ideas of education at that time in India? Are any comparative studies based on the sources mentioned in the book being done, or have they been done? I'm just wondering.
Thank you very much, sir. The first point is that I have translated the book and it has been submitted to one of the publishers. And I believe that in 4, 5, 6 months, it will come out. And then it will be available for the readers. And number two is that uh, uh, regarding the authenticity of his comparisons, I don't know if it has been done in the true sense, but it seemed to me that he had done it very meticulously. He himself had done it, and he has written the book very convincingly with information and with references, not that he's just gathering the ideas and placing those in the book, not like that. He placed those like an academic, and that is the most important feature of Professor Sarkar. Thank you very much.
Do you find any comparative analysis in his writings in Professor Sarkar's, or is it only about Japan?
Not only about Japan, because when he's writing about Japan, he's actually giving examples from Europe, from the North America, and from India as well. And that was actually his technique to place something, to introduce things, introduce his ideas.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Professor Sushila.
Yeah, thank you so much, Professor Alam. My question to Mr. Das, it was a wonderful presentation. My question is that, of course, it is also related to what the comment made by Professor Alam, that we have works, accounts on Japan in various languages, in Bengali, in Gujarati, in Malayalam, in Marathi, in Odia, but the literature in Bengali, it outnumbers all. In fact, while I was interacting with you, I found that there are so many scholars who have worked on these Bengali literature. Professor Somdat Mandal is already there, and I found many. In fact, but are there also some Japanese who many Japanese also must have come to Bengal. If the Bengalis went to Japan, Japanese also must have come to Bengal. But I could not find much. Just, I mean, the painters, the artists, or the Okakura Tenshin and all those people who came to Shanti Niketan. In addition to that, I do not find much material in Japanese about Bengal. Were you able to find some, locate some while during your research career?
Thank you very much, madam. Let me cite one other example, which I included in my book. This was the book. There is an article, and actually, it was an interview. The interview was published in the year 1895. It was done by an editor of a Kolkata newspaper, and the person, the interviewee, was a Japanese one. The last name of the person was Gangasa.
Yes.
The thing is that when he was interviewing, it was learned that the person was actually going from Japan to Chicago to attend the World Trade Fair, and when he got sick, he was actually he had to leave the ship at Kolkata. When the editor was interviewing him, we learned that the person's forefathers went from India to Japan much before, decades before. And his forefathers' name was, his name was, what was it? Somewhat like Gangopadhyay. And gradually it was Japanized and got into Gongasa. And I'm telling all this because we find that many people during the right after the opening of Japan in 1853, many people, hundreds and thousands of people had been going to Japan, and many of them were from the Bengal region. What for from Bengal region and what for not from the other regions as well, that I don't know that much. You know much because you have been working as a whole India, India's connection with Japan, but my focus is mostly the connection between Bengal and Japan. So it is difficult for me to tell about it. But what I have learned that in the year 1905, an organization was formed who actually helped the young, the youths, the talented youths to go to Japan and the USA to learn technology. And to speak true, Rabindranath Tagore's son, Ratindranath, he left India for Japan in 1906. And from Japan, he came to the USA. And he was also included in that list. He came from that platform, the platform which helped and sent many of the Bengali students to North America, mostly the USA and Japan. Might be that was one of the reasons which played a very pivotal role in making so many intellectuals interested in Japan and writing on the Japan things.
Thank you, Subrata. We have two more questions, two more people wanting to ask questions, two more members of the audience. George is one of them. Would you like to unmute Mr. George and present yourself?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. And first of all, I would like to congratulate Professor Das for the wonderful presentation because I joined little late, but actually it was the first time I heard that there are so many papers written in Bengali language regarding Indo-Japan relations of first quarter of the 20th century. And my first question is that it's an extension of Dr. Ashok Jain's question. You said that the Professor Sarkar's book you have already translated. My question is whether all other articles in Bengali are translated into English or not? That is what my first question. Second is regarding, in my opinion, why so many Bengalis visited Japan for higher studies or for tour. Probably one of the reasons is that Calcutta was the capital of British India. So that is one of the reasons, maybe. Then what I feel that another important reason is the visit to Japan by Swami Vivekananda en route to Chicago in 1893. And after he came back, it seems he has talked at various forums.
Mr. George, if you don't
yeah.
mind, just finish your question because we are running out of time and he has to
My
answer
question
this.
is that whether Swami Vivekananda has had any influence on Bengali scholars for visiting Japan and then doing various researches or interaction with Japanese people. This is my main
Okay, Subrata, the short answers.
Okay, thank you very much. The articles that I had got, I should say I had discovered, because those were in the dark for the last 6, 7, 8 decades. I got about 100, and I selected about 18 for my book, this anthology. And actually, at the very beginning, at the very outset, it was difficult for me to publish this book even in Bengali, because who guys are interested in publishing this sort of things? But later on, it has been published, and I have got a Kolkata publisher who has showed interest in publishing it in Bengali. And afterwards, during the last 2, 3 years, I have been translating the articles into English as well, and very soon I will submit those for publication. And number two, Vivekananda went in 1893, and he had a very good interest, very good impression regarding Japan. In many of his writings, he mentioned about it. And his visit actually made a very good connection between Vivekananda and Okakura Tenshin. And the Sori Saga was the date of Vivekananda in only 1902, and which actually made the things stop. But Vivekananda and Okakura, even the Japan Embassy of India, representative from the Japan Embassy of India met Vivekananda, and there was an arrangement that Swamiji would visit Japan, but in a very short time, the demise of him happened. Thank you very much, sir, for
Thank you very much, Subrata. I mean, Subrata
yes.
seems to know so much about these issues. The last
Sir, I
question.
have been working on it for the last 20
Yes,
years.
but you're very articulate. Yoshiro.
Yes. Well, thank you very
Mr.
much.
Yoshiro.
Yes. Thank you very much for the very interesting talk. I was really impressed by this, well, encyclopedic knowledge and exposure that Professor Sarkar has obtained in those days. And I felt strongly that he was driven by a very strong idealization of Japan in that period of history. I think many Bengalis actually idealized Japan in many ways during the first half of the 20th century. But in case of Professor Sarkar, well, I don't know how long he lived, but after time passed and in the 30s and 40s, things had kind of turned darker and sour. Did Professor Sarkar's ideas change somewhat, or what did he think about the later dark years in history? I don't know how long he lived, but if he lived that long. And one more question. Another question is, yes, this so the early 20th century strong tradition, Bengalese tradition of admiration to Japan and strong interest in it. Okay, how has it connected to, well, generally to the later part of history, especially what is the modern context of it? What I mean, what well, in plain words, what sort of special feeling do the Bengalis may have about Japan? Yeah, those are my two questions.
Thank you,
Thank you very much.
Professor Ishiro. Subrata, very wide-ranging questions, very thought-provoking questions, but please short answers.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Ishiro. The thing is that Professor Sarkar died in the year 1949, meaning he lived only for 62 years. And I have gone through some of the writings of him published after 1923, after the publication of the Japan book. And the question that you made, what was the impression of the Bengalis about Japan, about the idealization of Japan in this regard? I would say is that Tagore visited for the first time in 1916, and altogether Rabindranath Tagore visited Japan 5 times. And we have found that even in 1929, when Tagore was returning from Canada to the US, he was very much, I should say, he felt insulted by the US officials, immigration officials, and then he quickly made his visit in the US short, and he went to Japan because he thought that Japan was the country that can give him the comfort. It all the time happened, and we know that when in 1916 Tagore visited and Tagore made the Emperor of Japan, there was a proposal like thing that Japan was interested to free India from the British, and if Tagore was interested to lead the country, and so far I know that Tagore's reply was that he was a writer. It was not his duty to lead the country, but he wanted to express the idea to the Emperor of Japan that if someone from India would visit Japan and ask for help for the freedom, for the independence of Japan, they should do it. And later on, we found that Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, he had the best connection with Japan, and Japan was the best friend of India in this regard. And it actually proves that the idealization that the Bengalis developed in the last decades of 19th century, in the first decades of the 20th century, that had been continuing during the last 1 century, I should say. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Subrata. I think we all must look forward to the book, which Subrata is finished and which is going to come out soon. Thank you very much. I think this was very informative, very wide-ranging, and it makes you think about the civilizational connections which were activated again at the turn of the 20th century, at the beginning of the 21st century, and that climaxed with Rabindranath's visits and subsequent travels. We heard the word encyclopedic. Certainly, Subrata's knowledge of this topic is very encyclopedic, and I think we have heard in the presentation and in the questions asked, we have had plenty to think about if we are going to work on the topic in the future. So I would like to end by thanking the Kizwa India-Japan Study Forum once again, Professor Ashim Jain and Professor Sushila Nasamaya. To me, this has been personally very educative. I have some interest in the topic. I don't know why I was chosen, or who chose me. Maybe my dear friend Subrata did, my dear student Subrata did, but
No,
I
I
do
did.
have some interest in.
No,
I
I
did.
didn't.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. And I do have some interest in it, so it really was enjoyable for me, to be very pleasing for me to be part of this event. Thank you all very much. Professor Sushila.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Das, for a very informative presentation and apprising us with Professor Benoy Sarkar's ideas and contribution in shaping the understanding of Japan and the Indian people in broader sense. And also, I thank Professor Fakrul Alam. So it was very kind of Professor Alam to accept to chair
My
the
pleasure
session.
entirely. My pleasure entirely.
Thank you so much. And in fact, Mr. Subrata Das' lecture has opened the floodgates of interactions between Japan and Bengal presidency. At that time, it was undivided Bengal. And you will not believe, I mean, there are 6 lectures already lined up, and there could be more. On Saturday, 26 July, Dr. Lopamudra Malik, she will be talking on 7 Bengali women who had been to Japan. And in August, Professor Somdatta Mandal will speak. In September, Professor Abhijit Gupta. In October, Professor Julie Banerjee Mehta. November, Dr. Pratyay Banerjee. And December, Dr. Tyasha Chakma. So we have many more. In fact, we can have one special conference only for Japan and Bengal. And maybe, you know, we will all sit together and we can discuss and decide how to hold it. Because
Great.
there is there are wealth of materials in Bengali about Japan. And I do not know why Professor Sarkar, he was familiar with English, German. Why did he choose to write in Bengali? Because Sir Ross Masood's book was published in the same year on Japan, and that is also 400-page book, and Professor Sarkar's book is also 481. But whereas
Yes, this is the book.
yes, Dr. Syed Ross Masood's book, everybody knows, but Benoy Sarkar's book, it is the first time I'm hearing from Mr. Das.
Yeah.
Very few of us know about it.
Thank you.
Such comprehensive history of Japan. Thank you so much. And I also thank all the audience, you know, from different parts of the world who have attended the session through Zoom. And all the lectures are available on YouTube, Kizuna India Japan Study Forum, if you go to the website. And please join us on 26 July, Saturday, Zoom, same time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste. Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Nice
you.
to see
Thank
you,
you.
Professor Somdatta Mandal.